very famous poem by Robert Browning entitled The Patriot. Let's go back to Robert Browning's background to understand the context in which he may have written this poem. Robert Browning was one of the foremost poets of the Victorian era, and this poem is one of his famous dramatic monologues. What is a dramatic monologue? A dramatic monologue is a poem in the form of a speech or a narrative by an imagined person, in which the speaker inadvertently reveals aspects of his character while describing a particular situation or series of events. In this poem, the speaker is the patriot. The speaker talks about the change of his fortune within a single year. In this poem, Browning talks about politics, patriotism, religious faith, and the harsh reality of the leaders who are true to their sense of patriotism. It speaks about the sacrifice of such leaders who are misunderstood by the people. The speaker of the poem is a patriot. The poem is a monologue of this patriot speaker who narrates his tale to us as he has been taken to the scaffold to be executed publicly for his misdeeds. He tells us of his situation, how he was once well loved by everyone, and how he is now despised by the same people. The patriot is innocent of having done any misdeeds, and it is only out of the misunderstanding of the people that he is being put to death. His death sentence is for the wrong reason. Now let's read the poem, the first stanza. It was roses, roses all the way, with myrtle mixed in my path like mad. The house roof seemed to heave and sway, the church spires flamed, such flags they had. A year ago, on this very day. So, children, we know that the speaker is speaking about what happened a year ago on this very day. He is describing a grand public welcome received by him. He is reminiscing his past. Reminiscing means remembering. People were so crazy and happy that they had thronged the roofs of their houses. The roofs of their houses were crowded. Everyone had gathered. The pointed, tapering roofs of the old cathedrals were decorated with flaming colored flags. By flaming colored flags, we mean brightly colored flags. The love, respect, and adoration of the people of his country can be seen in this stanza, and the first line is a metaphor because of the word rose. When you celebrate, you use roses to welcome. But remember that the color of rose is red. And if it is roses and roses all the way, it may be alluding to a bloodbath that was to follow. Myrtle is an evergreen bushy shrub which stands for love. Here we have some beautiful pictures. There's one of the church spire, and why people would have risen to the church spires would be to have a better look, because the roads down there bringing the patriot home would probably have been crowded, and they wanted to have a better look. They wanted to have a glimpse of their patriot. The picture that I have to my right is the myrtle bush. And as earlier said, it is a symbol of love. So they wish to show their love to the patriot by bringing bits of myrtle to the throng that was welcoming the patriot back. We now go on to the stanza 2. The air broke into a mist with bells. The old walls rocked with the crowd and cries. Had I said, good folk, mere noise repels. But give me your sun from yonder skies, they had answered. And afterward, what else? Imagine the scenery, children. The bells from those very church spires were tolling. The whole environment was full of celebration. Something good was happening. There was such cheers amongst the crowd, celebratory in nature, that it seemed that the old walls were rocking with the vibration of the great noise, the great peals and cries of the people. And the patriot, with a tinge of irony here says, he addresses the persons, good folk, mere noise repels. In other words, don't just yell. Why don't you just go and get me the sun from yonder skies? As you can imagine, children, a task that is quite impossible. And yet, the patriot at that point of time was in such high demand and had such a great reputation that the folks would have answered, yes, we'll get the sun from the skies for you. And afterwards, what else do you want us to do? What a tinge of irony. The poet has used imagery to describe the festive environment all around. The air was filled with the cheerful sounds of the bell. Thousands and thousands of people had gathered to see the patriot. So when they were cheering, it seemed as if the old walls of the buildings and the houses were reverberating with their voices. The word reverberating means echoing. The word repel means nauseating, disgusting. So the poet here means to say that your yelling and your screaming is disgusting me. If the speaker, in fact, had asked the people to give him the very thing on which their sustenance depends, they would have given him that. The sun from yonder skies. Such was their love for him. A well nigh impossible task, but the patriot could well have made that demand. The word yonder skies is those skies in the distance that are yours. We go on now to stanza 3. Alack! It was I who leaped at the sun to give it my loving friends to keep. Naught man could do have I left undone. And you see my harvest, what I reap? This very day, now a year is run. There is deep pathos in the words of the patriot. There is a subtle reference to the ancient Greek mythological story of Icarus and his father Daedalus. The speaker, like Icarus, became overambitious. The patriot says he leaped to the sun to achieve almost what was impossible. His actions might have caused the death of his close friends. To give it to my loving friends to keep. The third line means he did everything possible that a man could have done to bring victory to his country. The words harvest and reap refers to the ideas of karma. They are metaphors, of course. Is this what I harvest? Is this what I reap? Is what the patriot is asking. From the seeds of patriotism that I sowed, is this the harvest that I have gained? Is this punishment what I have to reap? The poet uses this to convey that what he is facing is not what he truly deserves. He says, it has been a year since that day. We began by saying that the patriot is looking back 1 year hence and thinking of what it was then and now will tell us what happens next. Therefore, it ends with the speaker's flashback. I'd like you quietly, by yourselves, to read the story of Icarus and Daedalus, which we have derived from ancient Greek mythology. If you have read through, children, you will understand why there is this mythological implication in the poem and the great ambitiousness of the patriot to get victory for his country at any cost makes him compare himself with the overambitiousness of Icarus that finally led to his downfall.